What does it mean for us now that the CBI was taken over by the US Treasury? Marks, the CBI was not completely taken over by the US Treasury, nobody panic. What I was told is the last few Iraqi banks that had issues with money being filtered towards Iran, 5 banks to be exact, are being cleaned up. I was told they are being cleaned up so they can pull the trigger. The world is desperate for this, RV, to happen. I think the USD being there is a good sign. There is a lot of pressure on Iraq to pull that trigger. Are they still educating the citizens on the low denominations and coins? Of course, central bank being forced to allocate an entire floor for the US Treasury Department to monitor money transfers and prevent any illegal activities, and people call it dangerous. Well, it's dangerous if you're not playing by the rules. That's the problem. US Treasury takes control of Iraq's central bank to combat money laundering. The article is different than just them taking over banking. They have actually moved permanent residents into the CBI building. This is quite new information if true. US Treasury takes control of Iraq's central bank to combat money laundering. United States sanctioned the living hell out of Iran. Iran is using the banks and financial system. Iraq has to move around that to get US dollars, and we, the United States, are sick and tired of it. We're changing the policy. 4 Arab currencies top the list of the strongest in the world. Is the Iraqi dinar among them? Why in the world would you bring up the Iraqi dinar when it's at 1,310? Why would you say that? Everybody and their brother knows around the world that it's lousy. It's terrible. Sources are saying that the RV was supposed to hit the banks on Saturday. The current status is high alert, and some have reported to work early this evening. Time will tell. Legal violations in the work of the central bank prompt demands to replace its governor, Ali al-Alak. Quote, today, Saturday, the economic expert, Abbas al-Basil, stressed the necessity of replacing the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq. Ali al-Alak, governor of the central bank, discussed the value of remittances sent abroad and the value of the dollar. Al-Alak said in a proclamation got uninvolved of his facilitating in the place of delegates that our unfamiliar cash holds are adequate to make balance on the lookout, demonstrating that the national bank offers in excess of $250 million every day to meet the necessities of unfamiliar exchange. He added, 85% of unfamiliar exchanges are as of now occurring between Iraqi banks and reporter banks without going through the US central bank, making sense of that. The lodging drive is vital to the bank. He explained that the central bank is now heading to cover the financing of the construction of 32,000 housing units, and that the Volum previous money counterpart Mohammed al-Shabaki blamed Washington on Monday for controlling the oil incomes held in the US central bank. In a statement too, al-Shabaki noted that this policy that America imposed on Iraq is the cause of the calamity in its economic situation, and that there are issues imposed on Iraq and dominance over the Iraqi economy by the United States. Iraq does not have sovereignty over its money from oil exports that is in the US Federal Reserve, he added, urging the government to free itself from this pressure and have a say in restructuring the relationship with the Americans. He stated, Iraq is asking the American side for a lot of money, which represents the proceeds of the amounts in the federal bank. He was referring to Iraq. Prior, Al-Fatah collusion part Ali Hussein cautioned in an explanation to Al-Maluma Organization of the American command over the oil monetary incomes in the government bank, blaming Washington for taking advantage of this control to apply strain on Iraq.